fastest show in sports.
Are we not looking at a time when we are going to eventually get to the old idea of a Division I and a Division II, maybe even a Division III again, where certain colleges just know they're not going to make the money, they're not going to pull in the revenue, they're not going to have the ticket sales, they don't have the TV contract, and they're going to have to exist in that vacuum of winning a title at a lower level. We need to get back to that to give them something to strive for.
All right, well, we have that now, obviously. We have Division I AA, which is called FCS. We have Division II. We have Division III, NAIA Division I, NAIA Division II.
But more teams have to agree. More teams have to understand that's where they belong.
Well, yeah, no, that's where you're right. So what's going to happen is that FCS level, where you see schools like James Madison and Liberty and Montana State, and really good football programs that have 30,000 seat stadiums and draw big fans, are going to be flooded with a lot of schools who are going to have to make a decision as to where they want to fall in. Well, frankly, they're not going to be invited to be part of Super Conference. They will be able to play big time sports and everything else but football, because some schools obviously don't play football, or they play like, you'd be surprised how many fans don't know that Georgetown has a football team. They play Division III. Okay, they're Division. St. John's has a football team. They're a Division III school. It's just non-scholarship football in the NCAA, but they have a football field. They have coaches. They have a team. They play Division III, but they're Division I, obviously in basketball in the Big East, right? So that's what you're going to have with certain schools. I'll give you a few. For example, that Memphis tried to buy its way into the Big 12.
Right, $200 million they want to give the Big 12. And the Big 12 said, no, get out of here. Go away. We don't need you. And they're right. But aren't we going to look at that eventually, John, where that's going to start to be more the norm than the exception, where schools are going to say, hey, if we get enough money, we can buy our way into the conference and we can buy our way into the But they can't.
That's probably not going to happen. You're correct.
Right.
The reason Memphis wanted to go into the Big 12 was that Memphis could see what's coming. And even though the American Athletic Conference just changed its name yesterday to the American Conference, as if that makes any difference, but they did, rebranded it. Memphis knows that they're never going to be able to go.
Baby.
Yeah, they're never going to be able to jump from the American Conference into a Big Ten SEC Super Conference. The Big Ten and the SEC is not going to look at anybody in the American. Okay, they're just not.
Sure.
So if you're Cincinnati, if you're Memphis, if your school's in the American Conference, you got to find your way to take the next step up. They're only going to take teams out of the Big 12, teams and the ACC, and then maybe and eventually possibly Notre Dame. If Notre Dame understands that it has to relent at some point. So that Memphis is seeing that's coming. So they say, oh, we got to get up to one of the two leagues because the new Super Conference is only going to come from the Power Four, and we can't be sitting here in a group of five, or as it is now, group of six with the new Pac-12 that's out there. But you'll see schools that will not be part of the Super Conference that will fall into a new category. And it's going to be a really good category. They'll get fairly decent money from a television standpoint. I mean, you'll have schools like, we just talked about the Pac-12. All those teams, Oregon State, Washington State, San Diego State, UNLV, Fresno State. You'll see teams like Wake Forest and maybe Duke drop down because they're not going to be invited in. Boston College could drop down. They may not be invited in, though Boston is a television market. Could possibly get them in because of the television size of the television market.
Yeah, the television market in Boston has never really been big on college football in the first place.
Yeah, but it's still 5 million people and 10 million people in the state.
I get it.
And it's just television. It's part of the television deal, which is why I try to explain to Florida State fans, look, right now the SEC doesn't need you because they charge for the state of Florida already because they have a team in the state of Florida. They could charge for the entire state just with Florida.
Yes.
Why do they want to, so this is why the big leagues like the Big Ten covet Virginia and North Carolina, two gigantic states, right? Because they have 11 million people each, and that's television money. That's Big Ten network money. That's 22 million people. And how many television sets a Big Ten network that they could charge for? So why Rutgers and Maryland are even in the league to begin with, why they went after USC and UCLA, because they're the number 1 and number 2 and number 5 markets in the country. So it's all about television money, right? And so once you understand that, then you're going to be able to figure out, well, okay, where are we going with this? Which is why there's no reason to have Wake Forest. There's no reason to have Duke because they're smaller schools and you already charge the state of North Carolina. at that point, North Carolina State.
So you would agree with me then? You see the point in time where you're going to have, whether it's the super conference or somebody, they're going to start ejecting teams. They're going to have to. They're going to have to get rid of the Dukes.
They're just not going to invite them.
Well, no, but I'm saying the teams that they currently have, if you've got a Duke sitting there right now, you're not going to make any money with them. Get rid of them. Bring in somebody else who's going to make you more money, or tighten up what you have. There's no reason to have Duke.
Well, from a football standpoint, there is no reason to have Duke.
That's my point. So then the conferences eventually get down to the point where we have, I don't know, 20 schools. We want to add this school. We want to add that school. You're out. You're out.
No, there's only going to be one entity. There's only going to be one entity. It's going to be the combination of the Big Ten and the SEC.
You tell me that you're actually going to be able to sit down the conference commissioners of the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten, all these other conferences, and you're going to get them to agree?
No. The Big Ten and the SEC are going to merge. They're already having those discussions. They've been having those discussions for the last 3 years, and they're ongoing. And the two leagues want to merge. And one of the things that they've been discussing things that they could do now. The only reason they haven't begun the final stages towards a merger and the creation of the super conference is because the ACC is standing in their way with the grant of rights. If Florida State and Clemson left and broken the grant of rights, the ACC would have dissolved, much like the Pac-12.
Well, that's kind of like my point. You're going to have two conferences that will create one, but you've still got other conferences, other commissioners, other teams that have to get involved to create this super conference of 60 teams you're talking about. You can't just do it with the Big 12 and the SEC.
And the Big Ten? No, you can't. I mean, it's again one entity. It's just one entity. Big Ten and the SEC, they formed together, right? 34 teams. They announced a super conference. They say we're going to invite 22 schools to join us. Okay? We're inviting North Carolina, Virginia, Florida State, Clemson, go down the list of the 22, Miami, whatever schools they want to have, join them in this, this 56 team league, and everybody else is just reforming into something else.
I just cannot see the commissioners of these conferences getting together.
Who cares what the commission? Who cares what?
And agreeing on anything.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what Brett Yomark at the Big 12 thinks. It doesn't matter what Jim Phillips at the ACC thinks. They're not going to have any say in this. We've seen this already. I mean, Maryland left the ACC. Does that matter? No, of course not. Nebraska left the Big 12. Missouri left the Big 12. Colorado left the Big 12, then went back. I mean, you can't stop a school from leaving. So what the commissioner thinks is irrelevant.
That's all, folks.